So, Tiger, how much time do you have for the presentation?
Oh, I think I have about an hour.
An hour.
The presentation, you can take question and answer?
Yeah, I think it'll take maybe 30 minutes for me to go through the presentation. I think it's pretty, pretty easy. And then I will try to take some questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But you guys give me the go ahead, okay? I think you guys know your group, and you guys can introduce me. And as soon as you hand it over to me, I will do an introduction to myself, into Kargo. What are we doing? Yeah, I think it'll be easy.
Yeah, I will introduce you, and Bro Leo is gonna introduce you too. As a friend, maybe Bro Leo has a many point of view of Tiger Fang.
Yeah, and then I will introduce Leo. How about that?
Okay.
I think it's good.
I'm not important here. You are.
Maybe you can share with us.
Sudah masuk?
Sudah masuk.
Pak Wendy, ini apa sudah masuk semua atau masih banyak yang ditunggu?
Ya Bu, kalau ada yang ini saya masukin lagi.
Udah masukin aja semua, nggak apa-apa, nggak perlu pakai lobby dulu ya. Udah bisa masuk aja semua pada saat ini. Jadi Bapak nggak perlu masukin lagi, capek nanti.
Oh, automatic allow gitu ya?
Ya.
Bentar, gue belum selesai makan.
Iya, maksudnya aku cuma mau ngasih tahu Pak Wendy.
Yeah.
Biar dia nggak repot masukin orang.
Do you think the presentation it would be more helpful if it was maybe in Bahasa or no?
Yes, if you can, but if you have trouble, just English.
Yeah.
But the presentation I can have in. I don't think I can speak Bahasa, but the presentation can certainly be in Bahasa. I have an Indonesian version.
An Indonesian version is much more better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me do that. That's easy.
Okay.
Easy for me to do.
You.
Do you have enough time to change it into Bahasa?
Oh, I already have one. I already made.
Okay. Good.
I come prepared because Leo was messaging me at like 1 in the morning yesterday about all of the preparation. Yeah, he's like, yo, you gotta be able to do this. You gotta be able to do this. This is okay. This is okay. Can I have a picture? Can I have a description? Can I have it in English? Can I have it in Bahasa? And I was like, all right, Leo. Anything for Boss Besar, Leo.
Okay.
I want
to be perfect.
For the presentation in Russian, but I don't think you could have done that.
Yeah, not yet.
Or maybe Estonian.
So much pressure Leo put on you, Tiger. So share with us first, Tiger. How do you both of you can meet, Tiger and Leo? Where do you meet up?
How do we meet?
Yeah.
Leo? Ketemu di mana pertamanya sama Tiger?
I think we met through mutual friend, Ellen, but I'm not sure when was the first time I met Tiger. Probably at my karaoke place. I don't know. Is it?
Your karaoke? Your karaoke in your house?
In my house, I think. I can't remember. Do you remember?
Tiger meet. Oh yeah.
I remember a little bit differently, Leo. I thought, I was crossing the street and there was a car coming, and you saved me from getting hit by the car. It's
wow.
Saved my life. I thought that was how we met.
Wow.
Oh. Well, was I wearing a Superman suit?
Leo makannya masih lama, Leo. Ditanyain sama Sekum. Leo makannya masih lama nggak ditanya sama Sekum?
Enggak, ini paling 2 menit selesai. Bentar ya.
Iya.
Ya, makannya lebih enak daripada presentasi, jadi jangan-jangan.
Ya udah, Ketua Roni deh mulai dulu aja sampai nungguin Leo makan ya. Udah banyak nih yang ngobrol.
Nah, tunggu sebentar lah. Itu si Leo 2 menit. 2 minutes. Oke.
So sorry. Oke, I'm done.
Pinggirin dulu lah itu semua piring-piringnya.
Ya.
Boleh kalau bagi-bagi sih.
Oke. I'm done.
Oke. Shall we get started?
Yes.
Mulai ya. Oke, bahasa Indonesia aja lah ya untuk semua teman-teman yang ada di sini. Kita akan mulai hari ini untuk presentasi dari Kargo. Kita juga akan banyak bercerita tentang bagaimana sih peran dari dunia startup dalam menghadapi pandemi di dalam COVID-19 ini. Nah, sebelumnya kita akan ada sambutan terlebih dahulu dari Ketua Felicia yang dari BPP. Mana mukanya? Tolong ditampilkan. Halo Ketua Felicia. Nah, tolong kasih sambutan dulu kepada kita untuk di siang hari ini. Kira-kira apa yang mau disampaikan untuk di hari ini dan manfaat buat teman-teman. Silakan.
Ya, terima kasih teman-teman udah hadir di acara siang hari ini. Terima kasih juga untuk Tiger yang mau menyempatkan. Thank you Tiger for your time to sharing with us. Terima kasih Leo sama Coach Roni ya. Mudah-mudahan acara kita bermanfaat. Kita sih pengen banget sharing gimana sih kita bisa menghadapi pandemi COVID ini ya. Apalagi sebagai startup kayak gitu. Mungkin pengen belajar dari ini Tiger ya. How you can do it startup in the COVID time like this. Oke, mungkin bisa dimulai aja ya.
Oke. Nah, jadi sebelum untuk memulainya, saya akan memperkenalkan dulu Tiger di dalam bahasa Indonesia. Tiger ini dulunya adalah seorang country manager di dalam Uber ya, betul ya? Uber. What kind of country? Uber.
Uber.
Indonesia. Indonesia.
Oh, Indonesia. Oke. Dan sekarang Tiger sudah mempunyai suatu perusahaan yang disebut dengan namanya Kargo yang di Indonesia, dan itu adalah perusahaan digital, dan itu adalah perusahaan yang mendisrupt bisnis model yang sudah ada selama ini dan bisa bertahan di masa pandemi yang ada. Sebelumnya kita akan memperkenalkan juga orang yang dibalik dari HIPMI Jakarta Barat yang juga merupakan seorang teman dari Tiger Fang, yaitu adalah Bro Leonardo Michael Wijaya. Halo, say hello Leo.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. How's everyone feeling today?
Hello, Leo.
Feeling great. My name is Leo. Thank you for joining this webinar. Please give a thumbs up if you are present and a thumbs down if you are away or you are bored or something. Anyway, I'm here to introduce my good friend here, Tiger Fang. I'm sure you've already known a bit of his background. He was formerly an analyst in Merrill Lynch, and he was the general manager for Uber in Indonesia. And yeah, welcome Tiger. So tell me, how did you get the idea to start Kargo?
Yeah, thank you, Leo. Thanks for inviting me. This is the first time I've been introduced in a language that I can't really understand, but that I'm learning sedikit. And so thank you for making this available to everybody, and thank you for inviting me, and thanks everybody for spending time with me on a Friday. Hopefully everybody's working from home and staying safe in this environment. I just realized that I cannot leave the country anymore, so I have to be here because there's no more mudik and there's no more air flights out of Indonesia. So I'm here until I'm in it to win it, as you say. Yeah, so you know, I started Kargo about 1.5 years ago in Indonesia. As introduced, I started my career you know, in Southeast Asia with Lazada and Rocket Internet. I launched their operations in Thailand and in Vietnam before I joined Uber. And I started Uber's operations in Malaysia, in Thailand, and my first time ever in Indonesia is back in 2014. I remember this because Pak Jokowi had just won his first term, and everybody was very excited about the new government. And I came here to launch Uber. And fast forward 5 years, Uber leaves Southeast Asia, is merged with Grab, and we had a whole team here. We had about 100 people on the Uber Indonesia team, and it really started with, what do we want to still work together? And the answer was yes. We still liked each other. I think people were very smart. People were very passionate about working on really tough problems. And so we sort of asked ourselves, what was a bigger problem to solve, right, after Uber, right? Like, we could have started maybe a food delivery business, or maybe we could have started an e-commerce business, but it just didn't have the right feel. I think it was very, after Uber, this was a company that had a vision to transform how people got around in cities. This was a company that, raised, almost $20 billion in venture capital. This was the fastest growing company globally. And to do something, ourselves, we really wanted to make sure that it was worthwhile, right? That we had a big enough impact, and we were going to be able to work on this for years, if not decades. And so we started looking for opportunities, and I was looking at what were things that Indonesia was missing in terms of technology. Where could we combine building marketplaces and O2O, what we call offline to online operations, like all of the things that we learned building Uber. How can we apply that to the next thing? So we actually started looking from the top up, right? Anytime you want to start a business, you want to figure out, is this market size big enough? And if you start looking at, okay, what percentage of GDP, for example, Indonesia spends its money on, logistics actually comes up as number one. This is an often cited number, right? So Indonesia spends a quarter, 25% of its gross domestic product on logistics. So, Indonesia has $1 trillion economy. And that means on an annual basis, Indonesia spends $250 billion on moving goods within the country, right? So that's really, really huge. It's almost big as retail in this country, right? And so if you think about retail, all the, waruns, all the department stores, everything that happens in terms of buying and selling on the street, plus all the e-commerce, that's maybe around $150 to $200 billion, right? And e-commerce is only maybe 4 or 5% of that, right? But we already have, I think, like 3 unicorns in this space, right? You have Tokopedia, you have Bukalapak, you have Lazada, now you have Shopee, 4 unicorns in this space, chasing after a 5% of a $200 billion industry, right? But what about trucking? What about logistics? There is none, right? There is no big, sort of logistics only sort of startups out there. There's a lot of, last mile guys. Maybe maybe you guys have heard about, maybe there's like a DHL. There's, maybe you heard of a trucking company, but there really is no internet company that really tried to tackle this space. And so I think that's what was really the most, that got me interested the most, was how can we use digitalization? How can we use technology to help try to solve or tackle the inefficiencies that happen in this market? And I'm gonna go with my presentation here, and Leo, feel free to interrupt me if I'm talking too much. But here are some of the top line numbers that we were able to see. Number one was there's almost 1 million of these sort of like trucks and truck drivers, right? 1 million truck drivers that are in Indonesia, and that's you can't go and say like, are you a truck driver? Are you not? Like, there's no officially published how many truck drivers are, but we think there's over 1 million trucks. And 90%, right, of these 1 million truck drivers work for companies that have smaller than 100 trucks, right? And 75% work for companies that have smaller than 20 trucks. So there's just a lot of small and medium-sized businesses out there. And trucking as a spend of total GDP is almost $50 billion US, right? This is a huge, huge number. And, we thought, hey, Kargo can do what Uber has done for taxis and private cars, what Gojek has done for, motorcycles and for OJEX. We want to be able to do for trucking companies. And so, we sort of sized up the market and we said, hey, these are the first 100,000 trucking companies we're going to go after. And that's how Kargo started. Leo?
Yeah. Okay, jadi I'm just going to translate for some of the guys here.
Okay.
Ya, jadi ada summary sedikit. Dia cerita dia mau bikin
I think there's problem in Leo.
Yeah, I thought it was me, but I think it's Leo's microphone.
Yes.
Okay. It's okay. Maybe I can just keep going, or is that, and everybody can sort of see the slide, and hopefully the Indonesian Bahasa Indonesia translation is accurate.
Okay. Maybe there are some questions. Maybe I see the chat. Mungkin Coach Tony mungkin ditanyain aja tadi ya pertanyaannya ya.
Well, maybe I'll just keep going,
Okay.
and we'll save maybe the last 30 minutes, and I love to go through questions, and you can maybe help me translate some of the questions. So that's how we started Kargo, and before COVID, our whole strategy has been let's grow, right? We are the biggest online platform for trucking today, and if you want to check out our service, very easy, just go to www.Kargo..tech, right? Our full name is Kargo Technologies, and our website is Kargo.tech. We have an app for transporters, we have an app for shippers. So go ahead and check it out. And before COVID, was really all about growth, right? Ramadan festive period is supposed to be the busiest time of the year for trucking. Everybody's going back to their kampungs, their villages, their hometowns. And, there's a lot of celebrating together, break fasting together to be able to, be within your home and be with your loved ones and family. And so we were really focused on making sure all of our trucks are able to go out to, all of the different villages all over Indonesia. But when COVID hit, and now with, mudik not even happening, we see that a lot of our trucks are very underutilized. They don't have jobs, right? So before, maybe they used to take, a big truckload of Coca-Cola from, the manufacturing plant here in Bekasi, to Jakarta, right? So we take basically from our manufacturing plant to the regional distribution. Today, there's not a lot of that happening, right? So we have a lot of trucking companies and a lot of truck drivers that are sitting idle in this country because of COVID, and there's just not a lot of things happening with supply chain. So I think, what we try to do is what can we find jobs that keeps these truckers busy? I think that was, the number one thought process that we had in our minds, right? Truckers are really, besides medical workers, and they are really the soldiers that are in this fight because they have to actually treat the patients. Truck drivers are actually also out there, right? I'm very lucky. I think we are all very lucky that we can stay home and work from home during this time. But in order for us to keep all the food going, you need water delivered, if you need all the supplies, it really comes to truck drivers still being out there and still being able to deliver the stuff. And so, our number one priority first was to make sure that truckers are still busy, and if they are still working, that we give them the proper protection and equipment to make sure that they can work through this period. And so, Kargo does this, right? In its very, very simplistic way. We are a marketplace and we're a platform in the middle that connects trucking companies and logistics companies. So we have wing box trucks, we have CDE trucks. These are essentially big trucks. If you're not in the trucking industry, if you don't have to ever move things with trucks, trucks are, there's 20 different types of trucks in Indonesia. There's refrigerated trucks that carry frozen goods. There's, open back trucks that carry agricultural products. There's closed box trucks that carry, maybe food and perishable items. And so there's all these different types of trucks, right? So we have partners that we work with that have trucks, and we connect them with, folks that need trucking. So, our core business, right, is, Coca-Cola, Heinz, Unilever. We provide trucks for these FMCG companies. But since volume in the freight business has come down a little bit, we've been trying to partner with government agencies, right? And so Kadin is, obviously Chamber of Commerce. One of our investors is a prominent member there. We also got connected to some of these government agencies to see if that we can, offer the trucks that we have to help them transport, for example, medical equipment, food, or PPEs to different hospitals, right? And we also opened up, as of last week, a donation, partnership with donation programs. So for example, Kita Bisa, they try to import masks from China. I connected them with a mask manufacturer, and they are now putting that mask on a plane. And when that plane lands in Halim Airport, I will have a truck to go and pick it up so we can deliver it to the hospitals. And so that's sort of what, we are moving our company and our platform to be able to help, logistics move in during this time. And that's just really, really important because I think it really brings, why are we building this platform, right? Like, can we go make some money? Yes, maybe. Do we think that we can help reduce logistics costs in Indonesia? Yes, over time we will, right? But really at this point, when, the most important thing is making sure that critical supplies like masks and medical equipment gets delivered to the hospitals. This is why we do this, right? We do this so we can help out and we can make sure that trucks and whatever logistics is needed, can be done correctly. And so we're doing this free of charge. We're taking zero profit. And as part of this relief fund, everyone at Kargo, including myself, is donating a huge portion of salary to make sure that, if we're donating it to charity, for example, that we can help these charities move their goods. I think here's just some numbers around like what is that sort of impact, right? So on the left here is our usual clients, and a lot of these brands maybe everybody has heard of. We deliver milk, we deliver a lot of snacks, we deliver a lot of tea, we deliver a lot of ketchup, and so that's our core business. We also do a lot of lubricants. And if you have a business that needs trucking, chances are we can help you, and we can probably do it at a cheaper cost than what you're used to. So please feel free to reach out to me. We have almost 10,000 trucking trucks that's verified and are active on our network, and we deliver up to 5,000 sort of big trucks every month. And here are some of the things that we have pivoted our trucks to be able to deliver. So we do a lot of medical supplies, we do food, we're doing 2 delivery to hospitals of food every single day within Jakarta. And we're helping to make sure that everybody who is staying at home still has access to essential supplies. Here's our product. So again, the easiest way to think about it is we are Gojek but for big trucks. And instead of to customers and consumers, like everyday people, we face businesses and enterprise. So, we have a dashboard. So, anybody that needs to order a truck can make sure that, they can bill us, and they basically have a dashboard to monitor where all the trucks are and where the assets are. We have an app for trucking companies that allows them to say, hey, I have a truck, I need a job. Here I go and sort of book a job, right, through my app. And we also have a driver app that we make sure that each driver is tracked in terms of their GPS, in terms of their location, and in terms of, where they are, and if they're unloading, if they're loading, if they're filling gas, right? Like all this stuff we sort of track within our products. And this is sort of it would be really cooler if you saw this moving, but we have a live dashboard of all of the trucks that are happening. So, we've done, these are just some examples of things that we've delivered over the last month. So we've delivered, motorcycles to Indonesia Timor. We've delivered industrial products to Sumatra. We've, delivered like lots of different food to East Java. And these are all of, the different routes that are happening on our platform today. Yeah, cool. So, I think it just goes back to my first point, which is we want to give masks, and we want to give, all of the protective equipment to the truck drivers just so they can be safe. One of the things that COVID is really pushing is digital adoption of processes, right? And so, the business owners here, when you invoice your supplier, when you sort of, have to make, digital sort of, or you have to make everything sort of handwritten to be able to invoice and bill, well, that's also actually at risk of spreading COVID-19. And so, we've sort of been working very hard on, can we have a touchless delivery system for trucking, right? You hear something about this if you ever order GoFood or GrabFood, which is, you order from a restaurant and you can tell the person, you can tell them to drop off at your, put it somewhere safe so you can go and pick it up, so you never have to touch, the delivery person. Well, it's similar. It's similar to what we're trying to do, which is, we want to understand through technology, where can we pick up goods? Can the goods, be loaded onto the trucks, right? And at the end of all of this, can we make sure all of the POD, the different invoices, can all that be digital, and we can just do everything online, right? That would be a humongous, forward step in digitalization, because one of the biggest pain points today is that, Indonesia, when something has been delivered, you have to physically write down all the addresses, write down all the invoices, and you have to deliver it, in person, right? And so as a part of this, we want to really be pushing our digital sort of POD and our digital sort of, collection. And that's it. I think that's, just really quickly about us, our business, and what we're doing, in this time to really help Indonesia, fight the coronavirus.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing, Tiger. I actually have a few questions from the audience. Let's start with two first. How did your previous experience help you in cargo? And who are your biggest competitors?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's my contact information. Feel free to email me if you have any other sort of questions. The more handsome gentleman on the right is my co-founder. He's Javanese, and he's the sort of the brains behind the operation, and he's the chief technology officer. Contact me if you have any sort of questions, or if you have business opportunities. So the question is, how did Uber help me? I think I think a couple of things. My experience at Uber has really shaped me as an entrepreneur, and as me as sort of a business owner. I think, just from a business perspective, you've got to be very, very data driven, right? I think at Uber, we have tons of engineers and a lot of data around, for example, during different times of the day, during different, times, during different days of the week, where's our demand, right? Is it, where should we be positioning our supply? So when there's a rush hour happens, our cars are not stuck in traffic to pick you up, that our cars are already there, right? So we have a lot of those sort of like data that really helps to run our business smoothly. And that is really the center of everything that we do. And I just think in logistics, that doesn't happen. I think in logistics, it's all about relationships and people, right? And that's very important. But we ultimately want to be building a technology platform that helps to optimize and to automate a lot of the decisions and a lot of bad decisions that humans can make. And so I think that's really shaped, how we think about developing product, how we think about technology, and how we think about, ultimately, today, maybe there's a person on the other line picking up the phones and calling, hey, this truck needs to pick up at this warehouse, and you call the driver, right? But I think we envision a world where that's a machine, and the machine will tell the driver through the driver app, you've got to come here to pick up your next goods. You have 1 hour to load your products, and you need to be on the road because you have the next, 15 hours need to get to Surabaya because this is where you need to unload. And I think that type of efficiency maybe will take, years, if not maybe decades for us to get to, but ultimately that's where we need to go. And I think that's really helped shape sort of, the vision of the company. And secondly, it's just about like, look, you gotta hustle, right? Like nothing's gonna be done by itself. You've got to go and just roll up your sleeve and do these things. So, before I started Kargo, I went to Medan, I went to Surabaya, went to, Gorontalo, I went to just every island almost, any major islands in Indonesia, and to talk to trucking companies and figure out, what is missing, what kind of problems they have, where can we find opportunities where technology can help, and you gotta not be afraid to do that, right? Like you can't be sitting, in an office in an air-conditioned room, and be able to develop a product for truck drivers. Like you've got to go out and you've got to sit with the truck drivers. You got to understand where they go. Like I wanted to go and jump in a truck and ride with the truck driver to Bandung, right? Basically, my wife told me I can't, but those are things that we have to be willing to do. And so I think that was a big learning from Uber. As competitors, there's a bunch. But really, I think the biggest competitor is, offline brokers, right? So if any one of you guys ask like, hey, I need a truck to go to, Surabaya, like who do you ask? You usually ask a friend that maybe knows a friend. And so these are, very, very local networks of brokers. And, oftentimes we find that, sometimes from someone that needs to send a cargo to the actual truck driver, it could be 3 or 4 different brokers. So we really want to be able to cut out the middleman, and basically connect real truck drivers, to shipping and to the cargo owners. And so that's the biggest competition. In terms of digital competition, there's a few that have raised some money, but I think it's a huge market. We're barely just getting started. There could be multiple winners in this space, and so I think we're all on the mission together to digitize logistics. And just make logistics much more efficient in Indonesia.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good answer. There's a few more questions here. I'm just going to go 2 questions at a time, so you won't be overwhelmed. Okay, lots of startups right now are bleeding money. How is Kargo doing in relation to this, and what strategies are you implementing? And are you planning to go public soon like Uber?
Yeah, wow. Look, I think, in terms of burning money, we're not profitable today. And so, the reason why we had to go and raise and seek venture funding is because, we are in the middle of trying to develop a product, and we're trying to disrupt a very, very, very like antiquated and a traditional industry that takes a long time to change. And so, we sort of we sort of decided early on that, we're going to trade making money today with, basically trying to make sure that all of our customers and all of our suppliers and all of our vendors are on our network, right? So we're trading profitability today to build scale and to build network. And so we're not profitable today. And if we're not profitable, then I think, it's pretty hard for us to think about, hey, should we go public? And so I think that's, pretty far away. Going public, any sort of IPO or exit opportunities, I feel like, if you build something of value that people want, and if you're making a real difference, the financial success or whatever is a way for us to access more capital, that will come. And so that's, the last thing I'm thinking about today, or these days, is, I think I'm spending a lot of my time, thinking about how can we keep our drivers busy? How do we survive this? And I think there's a lot more important questions for me to spend time on.
Okay, thank you for the wonderful answers. And I'm just going to go over the next question. How did you get to know your partners, and what aspects do you consider when choosing your partners? That's one question. The second question is, how are you penetrating the user and truck market? Like, I think what this means is how are you targeting more users and getting other truck drivers to join?
Yeah. So, I think, how do we get to know our partners? Well, there's sort of our customers, which is like the Unilevers and Coca-Colas. And then there's our, trucking partners, right? Or logistics partners, which, are trucking companies and maybe, freight forwarders and sort of sea and air freight forwarders, right? And how do we get to know them is, we have a sales team. We do have a BD team to go out and be able to tell our story and sell our vision to companies that that are out there that needs trucking services. We see a lot of small and sort of family-owned companies, and they may be in manufacturing, they may be in production, and distribution is one of their main things, and they have to have trucks. And what we'll see over time is that you've got to focus on your core competency, right? And so for a fabric manufacturer, it's like, how do you make your factory more efficient? How do you produce more quality products at a lower cost than your competitors? And how do you market yourself to potential distributors, right? And this trucking is not your core business. And if you have to buy trucks as the only way for you to expand your business, and you have to take care of these trucks, and you have to pay driver wages, and you have to think about insurance, you have to think about maintenance, you have to think about tires, you have to think about oil, that's gonna be a royal waste of your time. And what we're seeing is that over time, if Kargo can provide great service, and we can provide it at a very cheap cost, a business owner will start doing the math of, well, what do I have to do to pay for leasing, and what do I have to do to run my own trucking company versus completely outsourcing it to a company like Kargo, right? And I think that's where our biggest opportunity still lies, in Indonesia. And so how do we get this person to give up their trucks, or think about using Kargo, right? And I think that business, that relationship gets built over time. And perhaps it's, well, all of my trucks are now not available, or maybe all my drivers have COVID and they can't come to work. And so they'll use us, and we will be able to deliver safely, right, cost effectively, and maybe use us once. And you're good with that service. You like that service. You like the fact that you can track your goods. You like the fact that all the billing is automatic. You like the fact that, you know, none of this is a hassle to you, right? Well, then maybe next time you think about buying a new truck to expand your business, you just use us, right? And over time, you grow your business with us instead of you buying your own trucks. So I think it'll take time, and you know, we're here for the long term, and so, you know, we're happy to make, you know, we're very excited about the change that can happen, you know, to small businesses in Indonesia. I think the second question is maybe about sorry, what was the second question, Leo, about how do we find our partners?
The second question, yes, how did you get to know your partners, and what aspects do you consider when choosing your partners? Okay, yeah, choosing our partners, I think it's a good one. So, you know, if you want to be a trucking company on our platform, we've got to make sure that you're professional, right? So we've got to make sure that, you know, the drivers you have KTT, you know, you got to be a PT, you got to be a registered entity, got to have insurance, you got to make sure that you own these trucks. And, you know, we do a site inspection, right? Then we got to make sure that you're not just a fake company and that you're going to steal our money. And so, you know, it's the same way that I think a Grab and a Gojek onboards drivers, right? There's a screening process, and then there's a process for onboarding them and teaching them how to use our app and our products. And when they, you know, are free to operate in our marketplace, when there's a job that's done, the shippers here rate every transporter. It's just like, it's like you having different stars, right, in your Uber profile. And the drivers also rate, you know, the shipping partner. Like, what is their, was it easy to pick up? Was the address hard to find? Did the unloading and loading take a very long time? So there's a two-way feedback system, and that gives us the data that's necessary to weed out, to say, hey, you're not actually a great partner. We're going to give you a chance to be better, but if your score doesn't improve, we're going to suspend you. And, you know, if over some time you still don't improve, we're going to have to ask you to leave the platform, right? So that's sort of the you know, essentially quality, you know, check system that's in place. Back to you, Leo. Okay, thank you for that answer. And I have a question here from Sudono Salim, and he's asking, when do you see Kargo making a profit? And another question from Chila Kiana, when will the industry, what will the industry be like post coronavirus, and what's the long-term impact of this pandemic on shipping?
Wow, you're asking me to predict the future, and let me just look into my magic ball for 1 second. I hope that Kargo will reach a profit very soon. You know, I think again, for us, the immediate short-term goal is not to make a profit today. The immediate short-term goal is, you know, for us to get penetration with our technology, right? And so if there is 1 million truck drivers out there today, only a couple thousand of them have signed up for our platform. So, you know, we're barely breaking, you know, 1-2 percentage points. And so for us, you know, that's more important than short-term profits. I think long-term, you know, digitalization is the goal that we're going after. I think it's very easy for us to turn a profit if we wanted to. I think at certain, you know, at a certain scale, you know, we're able to say, hey, look, if we only pick to do these type of routes, if we only pick to do these type of trucks, you know, we can be profitable really quickly. But, you know, again, I think it just depends on the goal, right, of the company. And I think our short-term goal is, you know, not to chase immediate profits. How will the industry be like post-coronavirus? It's a great question. I think, you know, I think trucking, you know, not much will change, right? You know, maybe there will be a digital sort of, you know, push for digitalization, because People just don't want to touch each other and don't want to be close to each other. And so, you know, I think this will just speed up a platform like Kargo's. You know, it will speed up the adoption. But I think, you know, in our main focus today on consumer staples, on FMCG, I don't think that's going to change. I think it depends on when will we go back to our normal way of life, right? Like, you know, I think the question to you, Sheila, is when do you feel like you will be, you know, not afraid of going to the mall again? And you know, if you're still going, if you're not afraid of going to the mall with your kids or with your parents, and everybody starts going back to the mall and starts, you know, buying things from the mall, then we'll see sort of, you know, more restaurants are running, more small businesses are operating, and really, you know, kicking start the economy, right? So, you know, I think that's the multi-trillion-dollar question around the world is, you know, when can our economy open up, and when can we go back to our normal life? And I think that's a big question mark, because it depends on, do we think that we have coronavirus under control? Do we think that we're doing enough social distancing? Do we think that, you know, and ultimately, do we think a cure or, you know, a vaccine is developed and can be distributed to everybody? And so, you know, I don't think that's going to happen, you know, until maybe 2021. So I think for the rest of the year, you know, it's going to be a very, very slow recovery, you know, even if there's going to even be a recovery. Hey, Leo, I have a question for you. When are you going to use Kargo for your trucking?
Soon, Tiger,
soon. All right. So that's actually the answer to the next question, which is how much is the profit margin that Kargo is targeting in the future? The answer is how much Leo is willing to pay for my service.
For you, any price, Tiger, anything for you.
Got it. Cool. Any price. Yeah, no, it's a good question. So it really depends on the industry that we serve, right? And so there are some very, very, what we call like popular routes. So for example, from Jakarta to Surabaya, and you know, the margin on a trip from Jakarta to Surabaya is probably very small because there's just a lot of competition for you know, for that route, right? For those trucks. And the margin back from Surabaya back to Jakarta is even smaller because there's a lot of empty trucks coming back because there's just not a lot of goods, for example, that's flowing from Surabaya or from you know, East Java to West Java. And so it depends on every single route, and it depends on the truck type, and it depends on what type of goods you're shipping. So cigarettes, for example, has very good margin because the value of the goods is very high. But if you're shipping rice, for example, if you're shipping water, you know, water is very heavy and it's very bulky, and the value of water is very low, and so your margin is very low, right? So it really depends. I think Kargo as a platform, we're trying to target you know, a 10%, I would say, margin you know, throughout the platform. And you know, I like to compare that with how much do freight forwarders make, how much do brokers make in Indonesia, and that's around 15 to 20%.
Okay, thank you for your answer. I have another question from Teresia Tanzil. She's asking, what ways do you see the recent changes in oil prices affecting your business in the short term and long term? And from Riza, she's asking how to assess Kargo Relief Fund.
Yep, cool. I'll talk about the relief fund first. So the relief fund is meant to be for our drivers. And so, you know, the example here is, for example, you know, Kita Bisa is trying to raise money to bring some masks, right? But maybe, you know, we have to buy, you know, if we buy like, you know, 1,000 masks at a time and to ship it here, it's very expensive, right? Because number one, there's an MOQ for the factory, and then you got to put it on a plane and fly it over here. But if we, kita bisa, order some mask with BNPN, with BNPP, or with Kadin, or with some other charity, and we order 1 million masks, it's gonna be much more cheap, right? To bring over. And so, the way that we think about the relief fund is, let's say we have to order 1 million masks, but in Kita Bisa, the campaign still hasn't raised the money, right? We will use a relief fund to bring the masks here. And once the donation has reached to that amount, right, then Kita Bisa will pay us. So we will basically front the money and we'll deliver it to the hospitals. That's one way to think about it. The other way is, if we're delivering, for example, water, Denon, water to East Java, they have a TOP. And so what we'll do is we make sure that the drivers gets paid for delivering it, from the relief fund, because that keeps our drivers busy, that keeps our drivers working. And maybe our drivers cannot wait for Denon to pay them, and Denon maybe pays, after 60 days. And so we will use the relief fund to, essentially be able to cover that time difference. And we will then bill Denon, and Denon can pay us in 60 days, but the driver at least have gotten the money, and the driver, can use that money to buy food for his family, for example. So that's the main purpose of the relief fund. And the question about what is oh, sorry, didn't hear. So what was the second question, Leo?
Okay. The second question. Hang on. What ways do you see the recent changes in oil prices affecting cargo in the short and long term? Yes.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think oil prices have gone down and just been really volatile, but we really haven't seen that in the gas stations, and that's because Indonesia as a country subsidizes oil. And so one of the biggest things that Indonesia spends all of your tax revenue on, all of our tax revenue, is on subsidizing oil for everyday people. And when you go as a trucking company to get gasoline, a lot of that is subsidized. And what the oil price going down means that it's Indonesia is spending less money on subsidies. But it doesn't mean the price is going to be lower, right? It just means that Indonesia's, foreign reserves or, account balance is going to be, better. And it's very much needed because that money that's saved should be going into social services for all of the unemployed, workers out there. And so I think, Indonesia is doing a lot of things around making sure that there's that wireless, card transfer of money, to all of the informal sort of workers out there, right? But I think low oil prices over the long term will mean that trucking companies make more money, and it will mean that trucking companies, if some of these trucking companies wants to lower their prices, it means they can, right? And so I think over the long term, if your operations is very good, and it means that you make more money for yourself, which is good, or it means that you can reinvest that money into your business by buying more trucks and putting it on our platform, or you're reducing your price to a shipper, and so you get more volume. And so either way, it's up to the business owners themselves to decide how are they going to reinvest the profits. But oil is a huge input cost to these trucking companies. And so when that price goes down, these trucking companies, cash flow and operating margins should be able to go up.
Okay. Thank you for your answers. We have just 2 more questions left. This is from Han. Who is your role model, and how does it affect your business philosophy and decision? And one more from Teresia Tanzil. she's asking, what's your biggest cost driver in the business?
Yeah, so I'll answer the easier question, which is, what is your biggest cost driver in the business? The biggest cost driver in our business is our salaries today. Our leadership team is very expensive because they're all very well educated and they come from really good backgrounds. No, I'm kidding. We have over 30 engineers out of 100 people, and so we really want to be a product first company. We want to be a technology company, and just so happens to be in the trucking business. And so we really spend a lot of time, and we spend a lot of resources hiring the best engineers, hiring the best product managers, and we bring a lot of folks that are expats, that have a lot of experience in building and coding, from places like India, from the US, to really be able to mentor all the junior folks that we hire straight out of college from Indonesia. And so that's by far the biggest cost, which is, when I look at, sort of salaries and the development costs and technology team and R&D. Who's my role model? Yeah, I mean, I know, I guess like the safe answer is to say like Warren Buffett or like Bezos or something. Actually, I don't like Warren Buffett. He's kind of a tool. Probably Bezos from Amazon. I think, Amazon has just shown that, he likes to say your margin is my opportunities, right? So he's obsessed about driving down cost and being able to pass these cost savings to your customers. And I think that's just a very good mantra to have. And so we try a lot, but we try really hard at Kargo to be able to squeeze out inefficiencies and really be able to, squeeze out, underutilized time or fat within the system, so we can pass that savings, back to our customers. And I think one thing that Bezos has really figured out is this evergreen problems in business, right? And this is something I think was really important, which is in 100 years from now, when you shop online, when you shop on Amazon, people are never going to say, I want to pay higher price for this item, or I want less selection, from your store, right? Like that is just fundamental truth that will never change, regardless of which country you go to, regardless of regardless if it's 20 years or even 200 years from now. People are always going to want lower prices, better selection. And he's really figured that out for e-commerce and retail. And, I think something I think a lot about, which is, what do trucking companies and what do customers here want? That's an evergreen problem in the logistics industry, right? For the truckers, what is that? It's probably, I need more jobs. I want to get paid, more. And I don't want to wait to getting paid. I want to get paid faster, right? So these are evergreen problems. And as long as we're building products and we're giving them solutions that solve these evergreen problems, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be building a valuable business. And so yeah, I think that's something that has really carried with me throughout my career.
Okay, thank you for the insight. Warren Buffett doesn't invest in startups. Is that why you don't like him?
Yeah, and I also just think he's kind of just weird, and he's kind of just like a weird old like white guy, and I'm just not a big fan.
Okay. Everyone has their own opinions. Yeah, anyway, I think that's all the questions for today, and maybe you can share some closing statements and also some words of encouragement for the audience here, and how to get inside a digital startup. Maybe.
Oh, I just realized this conversation is recorded, and so, oh my God, I'm gonna get quoted that I think Warren Buffett is an old white guy. I take that back. That's off the record. He is a inspirational person. That's the god of investing. I really like him, and I'm really inspired by him.
Yeah,
no, but
I can totally delete what you said before.
No, please delete that. You can delete that, Leo. Thanks.
Okay, sure. Sure, Tiger. Anything
I'll
for you,
know.
Tiger?
I'll know you leaked it if I ever see that like being written about. No, but thanks for having me. I know I talked a lot. Hopefully it's interesting and fun. Yeah, hit me up on my email if you guys have any more questions. But yeah, if you want to help in this time, I really think this is a really opportunity for Indonesia to come together. This is a huge humanitarian crisis. It's going to be followed by an economic crisis, and even a social crisis. So like everybody's got to be able to do their part. We can't just depend on the government. And so if you want to help, if you have things you want to donate, if you have things that you want to that you need logistics help, please reach out to me. We have a Kita Bisa page where you can donate directly to our drivers who has to work during this time. Hopefully I'll like put the links in the chat so you guys can find, you guys can sort of access it. Here's our Kita Bisa link. Oh, why am I saying wait, why is everyone? Here's the link to our Kita Bisa page. We're trying to do a fundraiser just for our trucking company. For all of our truck drivers. And if you want to help with the relief fund, you can check out our webpage, which is our COVID-19 response page. It's in Bahasa Indonesia, so this is everybody can check it out. Cool. Thanks everyone. Have a great time. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. Take care of yourself, and please take care of each other.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time and presenting your opinion and your company to us. And wish you all the best for Kargo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiger.
Thank you. Makasih. Bye.
Any last words, Ronnie?
Oke, kedengeran sekarang?
Kedengeran. Coach Ronnie.
Nah, sebenarnya tadi kita mau ada lagi beberapa sesi, kita akan bertanya tentang Leo, tentang bisnisnya, cuma kayaknya suaranya di sana agak kurang bagus ya, di sana. Yeah. Jadi, kita mungkin di sini kita bisa akhiri saja dari yang sesi kali ini. Dan terima kasih kepada teman-teman semua sudah bisa berpartisipasi. Semoga apa yang diberikan sama Tiger tadi bisa bermanfaat buat kita. Thank you juga kepada Bro Leo telah membantu
Leo,
kita.
Udah
bantu
temennya Tiger. Ya, jadi kita bisa belajar ya tentang startup. Gitu.
Ya, pastinya tadi apa yang dipresentasikan sama Tiger itu sudah banyak sekali menginspirasi, dan saya sendiri punya banyak pertanyaan pastinya. Cuma kan nggak mungkin saya yang bertanya.
Yeah.
Banyak teman-teman di sini masih
bisa 1 jam lebih.
Iya. Karena kalau menurut saya sih ini penting banget dan menarik sekali. Contohnya misalkan kalau yang namanya perusahaan digital seperti ini, tidak mungkin langsung si business owner-nya ini pasti yang jago untuk coding. Tadi seperti dia bilang bahwa dia punya banyak expat ya, dari India, dari mana, dan itu yang tenaganya dia bayar mahal istilahnya. Nah, bagaimana cara dia menguncinya, bagaimana cara dia mengembangkan bisnisnya, apa yang resiko-risiko yang bisa diambil, misalkan kehilangan source code-nya, apabila ada nge-lag dan macam-macam, masih banyak lagi.
Mungkin nanti bisa kita tanyakan juga lewat Leo, nanti mungkin bisa dijawab oleh Tiger, maybe sometimes.
Mungkin bisa di acara lain waktu lagi gitu.
Itu pertanyaan.
Oke, kalau misalnya begitu sudah, terima kasih kepada Ketua Felicia, terima kasih kepada teman-teman semua. Kalau kita mau foto bersama atau nggak usah?
Boleh juga sih.
Boleh juga.
Siapa yang mau foto? Coach Ronnie. Coach Ronnie bisa fotoin nih.
Kalau foto bersama itu cuma tinggal semuanya nyalain video, tapi kayaknya nggak semua nyalain video nih, entah kenapa nih. Ya udahlah, nggak apa-apa.
Banyak yang malu-malu.
Nanti kita coba share YouTube-nya ya. Kan kita record nih hari ini. Nanti kita coba share YouTube-nya. Mungkin kalau agak kurang bagus ya bisa didengerin lagi nanti YouTube-nya gitu. Kita share link-nya nanti.
Baik, kalau gitu kita pamit dulu aja. Terima kasih semua kepada teman-teman semua. Terima kasih telah berpartisipasi. Kita akan kembali lagi di dalam acara HIPMI Jakbar berikutnya. Thank you semuanya.
Sampai ketemu ya. Makasih semua yang udah hadir.
Yo, makasih. Bye-bye.